Next time you're at one of our many dystopian airports in the great old US of A, do me a favor. Just people watch. Just sit there while you're waiting for your flight to board and pay attention to what people are doing. And you're going to be sitting next to, you can be sitting next to 100 people, right? And they also have their carry-on bags sitting by their feet. They've got their boarding pass open on their phone just like you, ready to go. But they're not doing what you're doing. They're not looking up. They're staring down at a screen, right? They're looking at their phone. Or their eyes are glued to the TV, like one of the 50 TVs that's playing CNN or MSNBC. Either way, most of them, they're going to be on their phone. They're going to have earbuds in. And every single one of them is going to appear occupied with something that's happening inside their phone, right? Nothing. They are not occupied with a damn thing that's happening outside of themselves or in that terminal. Nothing. So one person could be 5 feet away from another person and still feel mentally removed from the entire room. So yeah, their body, it's physically sitting in that gate, but the mind is somewhere else. And of course, most people, they would assume that, when someone is at the airport on their phone, that they're what they're doing is they're sending messages to friends or family, right? The common picture that they would have in their head is that the traveler they're just texting their spouse or their brother or their sister, whoever. They're just checking in with whoever's at their destination, just letting them know, hey, I made it to, Detroit. I'll be in Philly in a few hours, right? So that might be some of the interactions, but I'd say a large portion of the phone activity that you see in public spaces has absolutely nothing to do with that. Nothing. It has nothing to do with any type of communication between people who actually know each other. Just think about it. Scroll through just any social media platform, any one of them, and you will find endless arguments under all these posts about politics or news stories, cultural issues, something someone said on a podcast, right? And I guarantee a lot of those people, they're probably in airports waiting for their flight. So, but yeah, you got one person that writes a comment, and then someone else, they jump in from another state, they respond to your comment. And then eventually you keep getting these notifications. You've got 10 strangers that are just piling onto this conversation, and it turns into a huge epic fight between all of these individuals that have never even met each other and probably never will. It's wild to think about. I mean, just think about it. You got some dude that's sitting at his terminal, physically waiting to board a plane to Chicago, but he is mentally arguing with some other dude in Arizona, right? About an election or a law that got passed. Whatever. But it's the emotional tone of those online arguments. That's the thing. Those don't disappear just because their group got called, and so they gotta put their phone away for a second to grab their stuff. No, that did not disappear just because they stood up to board the flight. Right? The frustration from that exchange, what happens is that it carries into the next interaction that person has in the physical world with other people. So, yeah, the irritated expression on someone's face in a public place, I would say it often has nothing to do with the people standing near them, even though some of those people might think it does. A person, they may look angry while they're waiting in line, but it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the last 10 minutes they spent just trading insults back and forth with a stranger in some comment section somewhere online. So you got all these other passengers in that terminal that they didn't cause the frustration. but yet they're sharing the same physical space with someone whose mood was completely shaped by a conversation that took place entirely on a screen with people that were hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. I think it's wild to think about. But it's concerning just because if you multiply that behavior across hundreds of millions of people that are moving through these airports and train stations and all these other places, I mean, every single day, if you think about it, the result in these public atmospheres, they're going to appear, all these individuals are going to appear very tense and distracted, even when nothing in their immediate environment is causing that reaction. That's what we're witnessing, I think. And the phone, it does more than just provide arguments for people to participate in. It does so much more than that. It also provides an escape. It provides a way to step out of the place that someone is physically in. For example, you have someone who they have a delayed flight situation, and of course they can't change that outcome, but the one thing that they can change is where their attention goes while they wait. So what do? Well, they get out their phone and they open up an app like YouTube, right? So now this person, they can move mentally into a completely different environment. They can watch all of these videos of debates and news updates and podcasts. They have endless entertainment. And yeah, the surroundings of the airport, everything going on around them, it becomes secondary. And then that digital environment that they've escaped to on that screen, that's now the primary focus. So you have all these people walking around where their primary focus isn't even on where they physically are. It's on their freaking screen. And that's just wild if you think about it. At least it is. When I think about it, it reminds me of Ready Player One. And if you're not familiar with Ready Player One, so what it does is it's a book and it's also a movie, and so it pushes the idea that, well, it pushes that idea further by imagining a future where people aren't just looking at screens constantly, but they're fully immersed in this digital world, and they call this digital world the Oasis. And so the characters in this story, what they do is they spend most of their time inside the Oasis, inside this virtual environment, because the real world all around them is bleak and it's depressing and they hate it. It's painful. But inside the Oasis, it isn't. They can escape that and they can be whoever they want to be, and they're free to participate in all these different adventures, and that these adventures that they feel far more rewarding to them than the life that's waiting for them outside the Oasis. And the attraction of that system, I mean, it's already here, but it's on a smaller scale with smartphones. But that reality, I believe, is coming pretty quickly. I think at least in the movie, it took place in like 2049 or something. But that's the thing, is just like in Ready Player One, we've got people who feel completely dissatisfied with their current situation, with their life. And so what do? They will spend most of their time and their attention in digital spaces where they can argue or perform, or just where they can construct a version of themselves that doesn't resemble their everyday life. That's oh so painful. And I want to shift over to kind of a philosophical critique here and pivot to Karl Marx, who, screw that guy, dude. He's responsible for hundreds of millions of deaths in the 20th century. But if you think about it, if he were to describe that situation, I think that he would critique it as, I think it would be an accurate critique. It's not that he didn't have any accurate critiques. His prescription was just effed up. So I think he would describe that situation as a form of distraction that's created by economic systems that leave people feeling alienated from the work that they do and the conditions that they live under. Fair enough. And then if you look at other thinkers that are associated with the Frankfurt School, which I've talked about, which I'm not a fan of, but if you look at, what is his name? Theodor Adorno, and then Herbert Marcuse, I believe is his name. So what those two guys did was they argued that entertainment systems, what they can do is they can keep people occupied with consumption and distraction, right? Rather than pushing them to confront the problems in the real world. And so, I mean, from that perspective, a virtual environment like the Oasis, I mean, it would function as the perfect escape valve, right? Because it gives people that place, that comfortable place to spend their attention while the physical world around them continues to decline and decay, like what we're seeing now. But I also think that the basic idea of mistaking an artificial environment for reality, I mean, that appeared long before even modern technology. If you go back to real thinkers like Plato, what he did was he described a scenario known as you probably know about it, the allegory of the cave. And that's where prisoners, they sit inside a cave watching shadows cast on a wall, right? So those shadows, they represent all the information that they've ever received. So they assume that the shadows represent the real world, and when someone leaves the cave and then they see actual objects and sunlight, well, that individual, that prisoner, he realizes that the shadows weren't reality. They were only a projection. And a virtual world that replaces daily experience, it functions in a similar way, because the simulation, it becomes the primary environment, while that physical world, it becomes secondary. Like I said, you've got people, their primary focus is their phones, and their secondary focus is the world around them. And then there's also this other philosopher, his name is Robert Nozick, and so he explored pretty much the same issue with, he had a thought experiment that he called the experience machine. And so what he did in that thought experiment was he asked people to imagine a machine that was capable of generating any experience that they wanted, right? And the machine, it could produce all these different feelings, right? Feelings of achievement, of excitement, of friendship, of success, without the person ever leaving the device. And so the central question of the experiment was pretty simple. It was, would someone choose to plug into that machine permanently if it guaranteed pleasant experiences? And a lot of people, they claim that they would reject the machine because what they value is authentic life. They value authentic life over simulated satisfactions. But when I look at current behavior with the phones, then I think that behavior suggests the exact opposite, right? But yeah, in closing, just think about it. Really think about it. Let it marinate, okay? You've got all these travelers that they're sitting at airport gates alongside you, and they may look calm on the outside while they're waiting for the boarding to begin, but all of these people, they might be mentally locked in this heated argument with a stranger that's hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. And yeah, they've got all of this physical stuff around them. They've got this terminal with other passengers and boarding announcements, loud noises. They've got sounds of airplanes taxiing outside the window. But none of those things hold their attention. No, not while the debate on their phone continues. So no matter where you go, the rooms that you enter into, they're filled with people that most of the activities that are taking place are happening somewhere else. It's not happening. No, none of those. It's not in that terminal, okay? And it's not between the people that are sitting next to each other. Life is happening inside those comment sections online, those news feeds, those arguments between strangers that are so far apart and have never met. And yeah, when you've got millions, if not billions of people, if you really think about it at scale, it's billions of people that are carrying these invisible conversations around everywhere they go. In these places, they begin to feel very tense and disconnected, even when nothing in the immediate environment explains why. That's why. Because everyone around you, yeah, they may be physically present, but almost no one is mentally there. You've got all these bodies occupying the same physical space, but the minds exist somewhere else entirely.